Yeah. All right. So, welcome to Jude Pride Month edition of Reset and Restore. And for today's class, as usual, I'm going to prop with 2 blocks and a blanket. So, if you like to use those sorts of things, feel free to have them available to you. And for today, let's get started in either a child's pose or on your back, depending on what feels good for you. So, if you're going to join me in child's pose, we can start on hands and knees. Bring the knees wide toward the edges of the mat, toes come to or towards touching, and then we'll just set our hips back, walk the hands forward, and let the forehead come to rest on the mat. And you might want to get some gentle movement here, kind of wiggling the hips back and forth, just settling into this space, into this moment, into the body. And let's begin to collect our attention with the breath, taking a deep breath in and letting it go. Again, taking a deep breath in and letting it go. Relaxing the arms down onto the mat, really letting this become a little bit of a restful position here at the beginning of our class together. Taking a moment to notice how the body is doing today. Noticing any tight areas, any painful areas, anything that's feeling a little off, and just perhaps sending some of that breath, some of that attention to those areas of the body. Feeling the points of contact between your body and the mat, the earth. Feeling the body heavy here in this moment. Feeling the body fully supported by the earth on your mat right now. And if you would like to take a moment to set an intention for today's class, I invite you to do that now. Perhaps something about inviting a little bit more joy into your world this weekend. Where is joy available to you? Opening to that. And just as a note, today's class is intended to be on the more restorative side. So we're not trying to push past any edges, any pain or discomfort, activation. Please back away from your edge and either back out of the pose or find a safe pose, maybe the one you're in now, and just rest. Meeting your body where you are today, your breath, your nervous system. And once again, taking a deep breath in and letting it go. And stretching through the arms, beginning to awaken. Maybe taking some wrist circles here. Perhaps wiggling the hips from side to side. Getting a little bit of movement in those hip joints in the low back. And then you might like to walk both hands over to one side, to the left, to the right, whatever side feels good for you. And start to open up through the side body here. Really finding some space in that shoulder under the armpit. And then walking through center and finding that space, that opening on the second side. Breathing into any sensation. Directing breath toward those tight, stuck feeling areas. and then coming through center. And let's roll up to a seated position here. And maybe take a few shoulder rolls. And then we'll meet on our bottoms in a seat. I'm going to go ahead and prop my hips with my blanket. I've got a hip thing going on, so I'm going to honor my body and not ask my hips to do quite so much work today. Let them be supported. And I invite you to meet your body where it is as well. Alrighty, so let's begin with a little warm up, a little opening, dropping the chin to the chest, and then getting a few gentle rolls, dropping one ear to the shoulder and rolling through the center, connecting with the breath through this motion. And the next time that your right ear comes to your right shoulder, let's pause there and allow some opening to come into this outer left neck. You might like to walk the fingers out to one side, left fingers out beside you. I like to bring my right hand to the left temple. I'm not pressing down, just allowing the weight of the hand to open just the tiniest bit more here. And releasing that, circling through center and bringing the left ear toward the left shoulder. Maybe walking those right fingers out. Maybe bringing the left hand to the right temple. Just finding the right spot for you. And breathing here. And we'll let that go. And then inhale the arms up to the sky and draw the elbows down toward the ribs. Look up and open the heart toward the sky, beginning to awaken through the upper back and the heart center. Squeezing the shoulder blades together here. And then inhaling, arms back up to the sky. And let's now drop right hand to the mat and bring the left arm up and over. Left hip is heavy, turning to look up over that left elbow as we breathe into the left side body here. And then inhale through center and drop left hand to left side of the mat. Bring the right arm up and over, right hip is heavy, turning to look up over that right elbow, breathing into the ribs, the side body. And coming back through center. And let's now take the left hand to the outside of the right knee. Take that right hand to the hip or to the floor behind us. And then inhaling the spine very tall, we'll gently turn to just peek over that right shoulder. Thinking about lengthening the spine on the inhale and deepening the twist from the spine, from the core on the exhale. We don't want to use the hand to crank that spine. We're allowing the spine to blossom naturally into this little twist here. And then coming through center, just taking a second, resetting. And we'll do that on the second side. Right hand to the left knee, and then bring that left hand either to the hip or the floor behind. Inhaling the spine up long, and then turning to peer over that left shoulder, allowing the spine to lengthen on the inhale and to open, deepening into the twist on the exhale. And then releasing that twist, coming back through center. Let's bring the soles of the feet to meet in front of us. So the heels can be quite far away from the glutes or quite close. It depends on what feels good for you. Finding that spot that's working for your body today, and then drawing the spine up long, allowing the knees to fall open, perhaps finding some spots to relax in the hips, in the pelvis, in the glutes. And if you would like to, begin to hinge forward at the hips and get into a little bit of a different area of the hips. This one helps us to also open through the low back and the sort of sacroiliac area, in addition to those inner thighs, the adductors. Nice. And we'll let that go. And then reach our feet long in front of us, activating the quads, drawing the toes back towards our faces as we flex the feet. I like to bring blocks to either side of my hips and let those lift the floor up to me, pressing into the hands here and drawing the spine up long for staff pose. And once you've gotten that length in the spine, you might like to begin to walk the hands forward. Hands could be on blocks, on the ankles. They might reach toward the toes as we hinge forward from the hips and bring our chest toward the tops of the feet. If your hamstrings are really tight here, you can always bend the knees or place something under them like a blanket or blocks. Breathing here, breathing into sensation, and letting that go. Let's come into a straddle position, a wide-legged, straight leg position here. And we're just going to do the same thing, where we're going to inhale the spine up long and then begin to hinge forward at the hips, coming into your version of this seated wide-legged forward fold. Breathing into sensation, breathing into the hips, into the low back. Allowing the body to soften as it is possible, as it is available. And then walking those hands back in. Let's bring our legs back together. Maybe give them a little shake out here. And from here, we'll bend the left knee and plant the left foot flat on the floor. And then pick that left foot up and place it on the outside of the right thigh. Holding the outside of the knee and drawing the spine up long, you might like to stay here. Or if you'd like to turn this into a twist, you can wrap the right arm around that left knee and then turn to look over the left shoulder, bringing that right hand behind you on the mat, on the floor. Again, allowing this twist to come from the core rather than using the arm to crank the spine into a twist. Breathing here. And releasing the wrap. Releasing that foot. And we'll do the same thing on the second side. So bending the right knee now, planting right foot flat on the floor, and then picking that foot up and placing it on the outside of the left thigh. Using the knee to draw the spine up long, grasping the outside of the knee. You might stay here or take it into a twist, wrapping that left arm around the right knee, turning to look over the right shoulder, and bringing that right hand to support you on the mat behind you. Breathing here. Noticing the difference between the first side and this side. Noticing if there are any areas of the body asking for your attention, and if so, what is it asking for? Just noticing, being open to the answer. And let's let that go. Reach the legs out in front of us, maybe give it a little shake. And from here, we will meet in a tabletop position. So I'm gonna bring my blanket with me to cushion my knees. Just give myself a little extra padding. You can always fold your yoga mat over if you need a little extra padding and don't have a towel or blanket handy. So in our table, we've got our hands under the shoulders, knees under the hips. Your toes can be tucked or untucked. That's really a matter of your own personal desire, whatever feels good for you here. And then finding length in the spine, drawing the belly in toward the spine to support the low back and find that core engagement. And taking a moment here in table to reconnect with the breath and to reconnect with the body in this orientation. And let's now take a few rounds of cat-cow. So on your next inhale, we'll drop the belly toward the mat, tip the tail up toward the sky, and look up, opening the heart forward. And then on your exhale, we'll tuck the tail, tuck the chin, arch the spine, dome up through the shoulder blades for cat. Inhaling through cow. Exhaling through cat. And once more, inhaling through cow. And exhaling through cat. And coming back to a neutral spine once more. If your toes are not already tucked, I invite you to tuck them now. And then let's begin to just walk our hands back, bringing our hips towards our heels into toes pose for just like a breath or two to open up through the bottoms of the toes. If it's possible to get your pinky toes involved in this, that is always a good thing, but it can also be quite intense. So simply do what you can. Breathing deeply in and letting it go. And walking back out to table. And pressing down through all four corners of the hands here. Reconnecting with the breath. And now let's step our left toes back and extend the right arm forward. You can stay here or you can inhale that left leg off the ground for balancing table. Drawing the fingers and the toes away from one another, lengthening through the spine. Core is strong here. Legs are active. And coming back through table. Letting that one go for just a moment. And now stepping right toes back. Reaching forward with the left arm. And if desired, inhaling the right toes up off the mat. Drawing the fingers and the toes away from one another. And coming back through table. We'll now inhale, right arm up to the sky. And exhale. Bringing that right hand behind, threading it behind the left wrist. Bringing the right shoulder, right temple to or toward the mat. And perhaps walking that left hand out in front of us. Allowing the weight of the body and the prop of the floor to assist us in opening the shoulder here. Breathing into sensation. And bringing that left hand back beneath the left shoulder, inhaling, right arm up to the sky, coming back through table for just a moment. And then inhaling, left arm up to the sky before threading that left arm behind the right wrist, bringing left shoulder, left temple to the mat, walking that right hand forward, and finding some opening on the second side. Noticing if this side is different from the first side. As we allow our bodies to be supported and let the weight of the body assist in opening the upper back, the shoulder blade here. And then bringing right hand back beneath the right shoulder, inhaling left arm back up to the sky, and coming back through table. Nice. Okay, let's now step our left foot forward. You can always give yourself a little assist to get there. You might also like to bring blocks with you to raise the floor up. And now we're in this nice low lunge. Let's bend and straighten that front knee just a couple of times here. Lubricate the knee joint. Get some mobility there. And then let the hips sink forward. Walk the hands up to that left thigh for a moment as we open up through the front of the right hip. And then coming back to our blocks or to the mat and sweeping the left arm up to the sky here. And releasing that twist, finding our way back through table, and then stepping the right foot forward in between our hands or in between our blocks or both. Doing that bend and straighten action just a couple of times here on this side, lubricating the knee joint, and then letting the hips grow heavy. Bringing both hands to the right thigh for a moment as we open up through the front of the left hip. And then bringing hands back to the blocks or the mat, and then inhaling that right arm up to the sky, twisting it out here for a moment. Nice. And now we will step our left foot up to meet our right and find ourselves in a forward fold. Hanging out here for a moment, maybe bending the knees a little bit, finding some movement. Here, you might grasp opposite elbows and do a little bit of a ragdoll stretch here. Let the spine find some natural traction for a moment. Allowing the head to be heavy. Maybe nodding yes, no. Shaking it all out. And then very slowly rolling up to standing, one vertebra at a time, and finding ourselves in mountain pose here. And if you have any props in your space, you might like to rearrange them. And then arrange yourself at the top of the mat. Let's inhale the arms up to the sky here. Looking up toward the sky, spine grows long. And then exhale over to the right. And inhale through center, growing long, and exhaling over to the left. And coming back through center. finding ourselves once more in mountain pose. Feet can be hip width apart, or you could bring the big toes to touch and have a little space between the heels. Depends on what feels good for your body here. Just taking a moment to reconnect with the breath and the body in this orientation. Really activating the legs, pressing equally through all four corners of the feet, and allowing the spine to grow long toward the sky. Feeling the solidness, the steadiness of our mountain pose here for a moment. And now inhaling, arms up to the sky, and exhaling, finding our way to a forward fold. Let's inhale, halfway lift, long spine, and exhale, forward fold once more, planting hands on the mat beside the feet. And we'll step one foot back and another foot back, finding ourselves in plank. Drop the knees to the mat, and then lower ourselves to the mat. From here, bringing hands underneath the shoulders, pressing the tops of the feet into the mat and activating the quads. And on your next inhale, with the strength of the back body, lifting the chest off the ground for Cobra. And exhaling, releasing, tucking the toes, pressing up through plank, and then lifting hips to the sky for downward facing dog. Letting the heels melt toward the mat, pressing firmly into all four corners of the hands, biceps frame the ears, sacrum lifts toward the sky. And now stepping one foot forward between the hands, stepping the other foot forward between the hands in our forward fold. Inhaling halfway, folding forward once more, and inhaling back through mountain pose. Bringing hands to the heart for a moment, reconnecting with the breath and reconnecting with the body here. And once more, inhaling, arms up to the sky, exhaling into forward fold. Inhaling halfway, flat back, and exhaling, stepping one foot back, stepping the other foot back, finding plank pose for a moment, dropping knees to the mat, and lowering chest and belly to the mat. Pressing tops of feet into the mat, hands press into the mat beneath the shoulders, quads are active, and inhaling, chest off of the floor for Cobra. And exhaling, releasing, tucking the toes, pressing up through plank, and lifting the hips for downward facing dog. Making sure we're not locking out the elbows here, keeping a soft bend in the elbows, allowing the heels to melt toward the mat, lifting the hips toward the sky. And stepping one foot forward, then stepping the second foot forward into forward fold. Inhaling, halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. And take a moment here. If you need to bend one knee and then the other, continuing to warm up through the hamstrings, the back line of the body, please feel free to do so. From here, we'll come up into chair pose. So sitting the hips back, reaching the arms up above the head. Weight is in the heels. Legs are strong, core is active. And then standing up on the right leg, lifting the left foot off of the mat for one-legged mountain. And then stepping that left foot back so that we find ourselves in crescent here. Reaching the arms toward the sky, inhaling, and then exhaling, pivoting that left heel to the mat, lunging into the front knee. Right arm reaches forward, left arm reaches back in Warrior Two. And then flipping the front palm and inhaling that right arm up and back for Reverse Warrior. The left hand can come to the back of the leg. And now let's bring the right forearm to the left thigh and bring that left arm up and over the left ear for extended side angle. Eyes can gaze wherever feels good. If it feels good on your neck, you might like to look up. And now inhaling, straightening the front leg, bringing the right arm up and back for reverse triangle. And bringing those arms parallel to the mat, reaching forward with the right fingertips, and then tick-tocking the arms to find our way into triangle pose here. Right fingertips reach toward the floor or toward a block. Left fingertips reach toward the sky. And from here, we'll pivot up onto the ball of the left foot and find ourselves in a low lunge. I'm bringing my blocks with me. Taking a breath here. And then planting left hand on the mat or the block and sweeping right arm up and open to the sky. And coming back through that low lunge, stepping the left foot forward to meet the right, finding our way back to our forward fold. Inhaling, lifting halfway, and exhaling into that forward fold. Taking a moment here, reconnecting with the breath and the body. And now we'll come back up into chair pose. So sitting the hips back, weight in the heels, core is activated, arms reach up toward the sky. And then standing up strongly on the left leg, one-legged mountain, bending that right knee. And then stepping the right foot back behind as we find ourselves in crescent. Reaching arms up toward the sky. And exhaling, pivoting that right heel to the mat, lunging into the front knee, left fingertips reach forward, right fingertips reach back, Warrior Two. Feel the strength in your legs, spine is long. And then inhaling, left arm up and back for Reverse Warrior. And then bringing the left forearm to the left thigh, sweeping right arm up and over for extended side angle. And inhaling, straightening the front leg, sweeping that left leg or left arm up and back, reverse triangle. And exhaling, arms parallel to the mat, reaching forward with that left arm, and then bringing left fingertips to the mat or a block, and reaching right fingertips up toward the ceiling for triangle. And now bringing the right hand and left hand to frame that front foot, pivoting up onto the ball of the right foot. Taking a moment here in low lunge. And then planting the right hand on the block or mat and sweeping the left arm up and open. Releasing that. Stepping the right foot forward to meet the left in our forward fold. Inhaling, halfway lift, flat back. And exhaling back into that forward fold. And from here, we'll plant the hands next to the feet. And once more, step back into plank. Let's hold that there for just a moment. And then once more, one last time, lift the hips up to the sky for downward facing dog, pressing strongly into the mat with the hands, letting the heels melt toward the mat. And then coming back through plank, dropping knees to the mat, bringing those knees wide, toes to touch, sitting the hips back for child's pose, walking the hands forward, bringing forehead to the mat, letting the arms rest on the mat, maybe wiggling the hips from side to side here for a moment. Reconnecting with the breath, reconnecting with the body. And from here, we will gently find our way onto our backs. So however that works for you, we will meet with our knees drawn into the chest. Taking a moment here to rock side to side. Release the low back and the hips a little bit. And then stretching the left leg along on the mat, bringing that right knee in toward the chest, maybe bringing it a little bit outside of the torso, creating room for the body. Breathing deeply here as you connect with those sensations. And then planting the left foot on the mat and then bringing your right ankle on top of the left knee, letting the right knee fall open here. You can even press it open, assisting with your own hand. If you'd like to open up the hips a little bit further, you can always draw this entire shape in toward the chest, grasping behind the hamstring or in front of the shin, below the knee. Always taking care to avoid putting a lot of pressure on our knee joints in these postures, so placing hands above or below the knee here. letting the left foot drop to the mat, unwinding, drawing knees into the chest, and then lengthening the right leg long on the mat, drawing the left knee into or towards the chest, maybe bringing it a little bit outside of the rib cage here. Breathing into sensation. And then bending the right knee, planting the right foot on the mat, and putting left ankle on top of right knee and letting that left knee fall open. Maybe even assisting with your hand to deepen that opening in the left hip. You might stay here, or you might begin to draw that entire shape in towards your body, grasping below, around the hamstring or below the knee on the shin. Breathing into sensation here. Nice. And let's release that. Bringing both feet flat on the mat now. Reaching the arms long beside us on the mat. And then peeling the hips up off the mat, raising them up toward the sky for a bridge here. Activating the glutes, activating the hamstrings. And slowly rolling down one vertebra at a time. Walking both feet out to the edges of the mat. Let's begin to drop our knees from one side, bringing them up through the middle, and dropping them to the other side. A few windshield wipers here to continue that mobility work in the hips and the low back, the sacroiliac joint area. And the next time your knees drop to the right, let's let them hang out there for just a few breaths. Reconnecting with the breath, reconnecting with the body. And inhaling the knees up and over to the left, allowing them to drop to the left, and breathing into any sensation you're experiencing here. And coming back through center, let's draw those knees into the chest one last time. Give yourself a little rock, maybe give yourself a little hug, and then reach arms long on the mat, reach legs long on the mat. Allow yourself to find a moment of rest here in our final resting pose, Shavasana. Perhaps allowing the eyes to close. Reconnecting with the breath. Relaxing the brow. Softening the jaw. Softening between the shoulder blades. Softening the heart center. Relaxing the belly. Softening the hands. Softening the feet. Allowing yourself to melt into the mat, with each exhale. Perhaps inquiring where you might be able to invite a little bit more joy into your life over these upcoming days as you move into your weekend. And then taking a deep breath in and letting it go. Awakening through the fingers and the toes. Reaching the arms overhead, stretching the legs out long. And then rolling to your favorite side. Pausing here for just a moment, savoring this transition, the liminal space. And then pressing up to a comfortable seated position. Drawing the spine up long. Perhaps placing hands over the heart. Offering your body a prayer of gratitude for carrying through this practice. Offering yourself gratitude for carving out this time. And thank you so much for joining me today. I hope to see you again next time. Namaste, and have a wonderful weekend.